Well, first of all, their team is really good. It's a really good team. Very talented, skilled, play hard, a lot of depth. So I was real impressed with their team. The good things that we saw from our team were I thought we competed hard, with the exception of that first period on Saturday night, which I thought there's one of two things or both that I felt happened. One was we were too respectful, probably. Number two might have been a little complacent from having, a shootout win on Friday night, and we talked about that in our meeting yesterday. That's just not good enough, But the good things that we saw were I thought guys competed hard. I guess there's little parts of the game that we continue to get better at, whether it's our back checking and being able to. We gave up a lot of scoring chances on the weekend, and yet against that team, we made them work for a number of them. I thought there were some individual performances that were pretty impressive. That freshman line continues to evolve. I thought at times we moved the puck pretty well, and other times we showed our inexperience or inability to execute, which is what we have to get better at. So the consistency is something we've got to improve. I thought there were some gutty performances too from guys who were overcoming injuries, or playing with injuries. And those aren't things that you guys necessarily see from the press box or people see from the stands, but there are guys that were pretty banged up playing. And then I thought, one of the things that's starting to become a bit of our team's identity is our ability to block shots, and that's a real mentality, and it's not a fun job, and it's certainly not a glamorous job, but you saw guys sacrifice themselves, take shots, in some cases get hurt, grind through it, recover and get back and play. So those were all good little things. Jake was outstanding. I thought it was his best 2 games of this season. He looked very confident. I think he's got his game back to what we saw last year, because I thought he was struggling a little bit up until that time, and we knew coming into the season for us to have a chance to have success, we have to have really strong goaltending, and he gave that to us both games. And I didn't think that our goaltending had been to that level up until this point of probably the Princeton weekend. But he made some really big saves. He was very consistent. I thought our team played confidently in front of him. And as a penalty killer, the way we were killing penalties against those guys, we gave up a lot of shots, and he needed to be our best penalty killer, and he was. We're not going to change our talent level in the next 3 months all that much. Hopefully each player gets better, but we're not going to have any different parts than we have now. But certainly our chemistry can constantly get better, where guys are playing selflessly. I don't want anybody to ever be satisfied with their role, but they have to embrace their role as they're trying to improve it. So whether you're playing with regularity and you'd love to get a little bit of power play time, or whether you're outside of the lineup looking in to try to fight your way into the lineup, everybody has their role and has to do their part. And that chemistry helps lead to success. I remember my first year I invited Tom Izzo to come in and speak to our team, and the thing that he focused on was that his most talented teams oftentimes didn't win, but his teams that had the best chemistry were the championship level teams. Well, we can manage that. Like we can manage chemistry at this stage of the game more than we can our talent level. And so that's a real focus for us on trying to move forward. They're producing more than we thought. We did think that the players we lost from last year's senior class weren't really considered offensive type players. So we really felt that over the course of time, as the freshmen gained experience, they would their offensive productivity would be an increase from probably the class that we had go out last year. But they've really probably outperformed to this date what my initial anticipation was. Now, having said that, the big concern is complacency. We don't want complacency. We need them to continue to build on that, on what's been established. I don't see that complacency, hopefully anytime soon. But as a coach, that's what you start to worry about, is that we came in, we didn't know what to expect, we're doing okay. I'm hoping they feed off of the early success to gather more success. Obviously, a real credit to him to be, and certainly well deserved, to go into the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. His impact on Michigan State hockey, how he impacted the greater university in so many different ways, from his role as coach and to athletic director to really being an ambassador for the school even to this day. But from a hockey perspective, you don't have to go back that far to recognize how far college hockey has come since the mid to late 70s. It's come a long way. Today we see players in the NHL every night who played in college hockey. We see players who are drafted throughout the draft, including the first round, with regularity, who came from college hockey. We see executives who were involved in college hockey today in the NHL that we never saw before. We see general managers, director of scouting, scouts, coaches. Well, not to say Ron Mason created all that, but he played his role in that evolution during the past 30-some years, 40 years. The thing that probably strikes me the most, that I'm not sure how many people recognize, is how much out front he was in helping emerging programs. And the CCHA was created, and he was one of the creators of a spot for emerging programs to go. And so whether it's, today you see Miami with a program, and you see Lake Superior State, and you see Northern Michigan, and I don't know all of the history, but many of those programs, Ferris State, that's where they were able to get a start. Now you see those programs competing in the national tournament for national championships, and they never had a place to go many years ago. And so from players getting opportunity at higher levels, programs having opportunity just to get into the sport and now flourishing in the sport, and certainly coaches and managers in roles that weren't typical back in the 70s, 80s, even 90s as they are today. It's very mainstream. He was one of those guys out front in the sport that was constantly fighting for respect for all of those constituents. That's what got me into the game. You gave me an opportunity to play here. When I came here, it was like I learned more about the game in the first 6 months that I played here than I knew about it, in the previous 17 or whatever 14 years I played. And so I think it's great that we were able to get this game here. We'll have a chance to honor him that night here. And I haven't told you guys yet, but I've invited him to be on the bench and coach that night. So he'll be our honorary coach. So I think that's kind of a neat thing.